I'm a brain doctor, and I've seen strokes strike out of nowhere, take speech, balance, even memories, sometimes in minutes. But what still shocks me, even now, is this. One sweet, familiar fruit, the kind sitting quietly in your fridge right now, might be silently damaging your brain, especially if you're over 60. And the worst part? Most people think they're doing the right thing when they eat it. Let me ask you something. Have you ever reached for fruit thinking, at least it's healthy? If so, pause this video for 1 second and type the number 1 in the comments. I want to know how many of you, like my patients, are trying to eat better but might unknowingly be putting your brain at risk. Because here's the truth no one's telling you. In the next few minutes, you're going to discover which fruits can spike your blood sugar, inflame your arteries, or clash with common medications like blood thinners or statins. Why certain fruits, yes, even the ones labeled heart healthy, could be quietly raising your stroke risk overnight. And most importantly, which fruits are actually safe, brain-friendly, and doctor-approved for adults over 60. It might sound hard to believe now. That's okay. You don't have to take my word for it. But before you take another bite of fruit today, watch this video all the way through. Because the first fruit we're about to talk about, it's probably the one you snack on while watching TV or serve to your grandkids after lunch. They're small, they're sweet. They're easy to pop in your mouth by the handful while watching TV, after dinner, even before bed. But if you're over 60 and you're snacking on grapes like they're harmless, you might be unknowingly fueling inflammation, blood sugar spikes, and stroke risk. Let me tell you about Jeanette, 76, from Ohio. She was sharp, lively, the kind of woman who still danced at family reunions. She took pride in eating clean, no soda, no cookies. Her go-to treat? A small bowl of red grapes every evening after dinner. Fruit is better than dessert, she told me once. But one morning, Jeanette felt off. She stood up from bed, got lightheaded, and within seconds, collapsed. She didn't lose consciousness, but she couldn't move her right hand, and her words slurred. It was a mild ischemic stroke. When we reviewed her labs, something stood out. Severe overnight blood sugar fluctuations. So what happened? Here's what most seniors don't realize about grapes. They may be small, but they are loaded with natural sugar. Just 1 cup of red grapes contains over 23 grams of sugar, almost as much as a slice of cake. But unlike cake, grapes are often eaten without protein or fat, which means the sugar hits your bloodstream fast and hard. That sugar spike leads to inflammation in your blood vessel walls, stress on your pancreas and insulin response, thickening of the blood in the hours after digestion, and eventually, increased risk of clots and microstrokes, especially while you sleep. Worse yet, most grapes today are hybridized for sweetness, meaning they're higher in fructose than they were 50 years ago. Your body wasn't built to handle 20 to 30 grams of sugar in one sitting, especially not at night when your metabolism slows down. And there's more. Grapes are among the most pesticide-contaminated fruits in the grocery store. Unless organic, they carry residue from dozens of neurotoxic sprays, which can accumulate in aging brains and disrupt vascular function over time. So what can you do instead? Eat grapes with a source of fat, like cheese, almonds, or Greek yogurt. Time it. Avoid them after dinner. Enjoy them earlier in the day. Portion control. Stick to a small handful, not a whole bowl. Always choose organic if possible. And never eat grapes on an empty stomach. Pair them with something that slows digestion. Jeanette recovered, but she had to relearn how to write and button a shirt. And the one sentence she kept repeating was, "I thought I was doing everything right." That's the danger of health myths. Sometimes the foods we trust the most are the ones quietly doing damage. And if grapes surprised you, Wait until you hear about the next fruit, golden, juicy, and tropical. It tastes like summer, but may be thinning your blood while you sleep. Let's talk about pineapple. It smells like summer, tastes like a tropical vacation. And for many older adults, pineapple feels like a guilt-free dessert, fresh, bright, all natural. But what if this sunny fruit was secretly aggravating inflammation, thinning your blood too far, and increasing stroke risk, especially when mixed with the wrong meds? Let me tell you about Clara, 81 years old, from Arizona. She stayed active, gardened every day, and loved to eat clean. Her signature treat? Pineapple chunks after lunch. It helps with digestion, she said, and it's better than ice cream. She wasn't wrong. Pineapple does contain bromelain, a natural enzyme that aids digestion. But after starting a new low-dose aspirin therapy, standard for heart health, Clara noticed bruising more often. Tiny ones at first. Then one morning, she woke up dizzy and lightheaded. Her daughter found her sitting on the floor, confused and weak. She'd had a mild hemorrhagic stroke. A small vessel in her brain had leaked, not because of a clot, but because her blood was too thin. Here's why pineapple may have contributed. Pineapple is high in bromelain, which thins the blood naturally, enhances the effect of blood thinners like aspirin, clopidogrel, or warfarin, may also interact with antibiotics, sedatives, and some antidepressants. That sounds harmless, until you mix bromelain with age-related changes like weakened blood vessels, slower liver metabolism, and medications that already reduce clotting. It's a recipe for trouble. But that's not all. Pineapple is also high in natural sugar and acidity, a combo that can spike blood sugar while irritating the lining of the gut and blood vessels. Many older adults eat pineapple on its own, as a snack or dessert, which means there's no buffer to slow that sugar down. Result? A sharp glucose surge, followed by a crash and a stressed vascular system. And remember, most store-bought pineapple is harvested unripe and ripened with ethylene gas, which may affect enzyme activity and make it even more acidic by the time it hits your plate. So what's the safe way to enjoy pineapple? Eat it in moderation, just a few small pieces, not a bowl. Pair it with a meal that contains healthy fats and protein. Check with your doctor if you're on blood thinners or blood pressure meds. Avoid eating pineapple late at night. Digestion slows while you sleep. Opt for fresh and organic when possible, never canned in syrup. Clara was lucky. Her speech came back, her balance improved. But her daughter told me, we had no idea something so innocent could mix so badly with her meds. That's the tricky part. Some fruits don't hurt you on their own, but in combination with age and medication, they become a silent threat. And if pineapple surprised you, wait until you hear this quick warning about bananas, especially if you have kidney or blood pressure issues. Coming up next, quick warning number 1, the potassium spike nobody talks about. Bananas, soft, filling, potassium-rich. They've been marketed as heart-healthy for decades. But if you're over 60 and taking blood pressure meds like ACE inhibitors, ARBs, or potassium-sparing diuretics, this friendly fruit could quietly push your potassium levels into dangerous territory. Here's why. Bananas are naturally high in potassium, which helps regulate your heartbeat and nerve signals. But too much potassium, especially when combined with meds like lisinopril, losartan, or spironolactone, can lead to hyperkalemia, a condition where your potassium gets too high. Symptoms? Irregular heartbeat, weakness, confusion. In severe cases, sudden cardiac arrest. If you take any of those meds, ask your doctor, how much potassium is safe for me? A small banana once in a while might be fine, but eating one every morning without knowing your levels, That's a risk not worth taking. An apple a day keeps the doctor away, right? That's what we've been told for generations. And for the most part, apples are healthy. But if you're over 60, and especially if you snack on apples often without thinking about timing, type, or pairing, you might be setting yourself up for trouble, especially when it comes to blood sugar, circulation, and your brain. Let me introduce you to Edna, a 79-year-old retired school teacher from Minnesota. She was a picture of discipline, walked every morning, kept a food journal, and swapped candy for fruit years ago. Her go-to habit? Sliced apples every afternoon, sometimes with a bit of honey. She told herself it was natural sugar and that it helped her feel full. But over time, Edna noticed something strange. She'd feel foggy, tired around 5 p.m. Her hands would shake a little, and her balance wasn't what it used to be. Then one day, while preparing tea, she fainted. No stroke, but her blood sugar had crashed, and it was happening almost daily, right around the same time she was eating her healthy snack. Here's what was going on. Apples, especially red varieties like Fuji and Gala, contain a surprising amount of sugar. One medium apple has 19 to 25 grams of sugar, and when eaten on its own, it can spike blood glucose fast, especially in older adults with slowed insulin response. And what spikes up crashes down. Edna's apple habit was creating sharp glucose swings that inflamed her arteries, triggered brain fog and dizziness, increased her risk for long-term insulin resistance, and silently stressed her vascular system. But here's another twist. Apples also contain sorbitol, a sugar alcohol that's poorly digested in some older adults. It can lead to bloating, gas, and even contribute to gut inflammation when eaten in large amounts. And if that weren't enough, most store-bought apples are waxed and pesticide-treated, with residues that may disrupt hormones and detox pathways over time. So does that mean apples are bad? Not exactly, but how you eat them matters. A, choose green apples, like Granny Smith, lower in sugar. B, always pair with healthy fat or protein, like cheese or nut butter. C, never eat them on an empty stomach. D, eat them earlier in the day, not as a late-night snack. And E, wash thoroughly, or better yet, peel the skin if it's not organic. Edna is still enjoying apples, but now she pairs half a green apple with a spoonful of almond butter and hasn't had another dizzy spell since. And if apples, something you thought was totally harmless, can mess with your balance and blood sugar, just wait until you see what happens when you compare 3 similar fruits and realize only one is safe for seniors. Coming up next, a mid-video comparison that may flip what you thought you knew about citrus.
Let's change gears for a moment. You've heard about grapes, pineapple, apples. But now let's talk citrus. 3 fruits that look similar, taste refreshing, and are often labeled as great for heart health. But only one of them is truly safe for seniors. Let's break it down. Orange, surprisingly risky. Oranges are sweet, juicy, and packed with vitamin C. But here's the catch. They're loaded with sugar. One orange can have 17 to 20 grams. That sugar hits hard when juiced or eaten on an empty stomach. And oranges can interact with blood pressure meds, especially calcium channel blockers. Worse, many seniors drink orange juice daily, thinking it's heart healthy, when it's actually spiking blood sugar and slowing medication metabolism. Lemon, the unsung hero. Lemons are low in sugar, high in vitamin C, and packed with citric acid, which aids digestion and supports liver function. They don't spike blood sugar, they help your body absorb nutrients, and they're unlikely to interfere with common prescriptions. Squeeze it in water, over greens, or even fish, lemon is your brain's friend. Grapefruit, a hidden danger. Now, here's the shocker. Grapefruit is a known enemy to many medications. It inhibits a liver enzyme called CYP3A4, which breaks down drugs like statins, anti-anxiety meds, blood pressure meds, heart rhythm stabilizers. Result? These meds build up in your system and can overdose you slowly. So what's the takeaway? Yes, lemon, no grapefruit, orange only in small amounts and never with meds. It's not just about the fruit. It's about how it fits into your body, your meds, and your age. Up next, we return to deep dive storytelling with one of the most common and misunderstood fruits for seniors. It's bright, juicy, and often recommended for vitamin C. But in some cases, it could make your prescriptions too strong to be safe. Let's talk about oranges. Yes, even more than we already have.
You've probably been told oranges are good for your heart, that they're rich in vitamin C, hydrating, and safe to eat every day. But if you're over 60, taking heart meds, or struggling with blood pressure, that morning orange or glass of OJ could be making your medication stronger than intended, and that's not a good thing. Let me tell you about Ronald, 75 from Tallahassee. He'd been managing high blood pressure for years on low-dose amlodipine and a cholesterol statin. He ate clean, walked the block every evening, slept well. His one ritual? A glass of fresh orange juice every morning with breakfast. He'd heard it was good for his immune system, and at his age, he didn't want to catch anything. But after a few weeks, Ronald started feeling lightheaded in the mornings. His ankles swelled, his heartbeat felt off. One afternoon, he collapsed while tying his shoes. He didn't have a heart attack or stroke, but his blood pressure had dropped dangerously low and his medication levels were too high. So what happened? The answer was in his breakfast. Oranges, and especially orange juice, can interfere with how your liver processes medication. Here's how it works. Your liver uses a system of enzymes, mainly CYP3A4, to break down medications after they're absorbed. Oranges, and even more so grapefruit, contain compounds that inhibit these enzymes, meaning your meds stay in your system longer, their effects become amplified, and the risk of side effects increases even at normal doses. In Ronald's case, the daily orange juice acted like a magnifying glass on his prescriptions, causing his blood pressure to drop lower than expected and his heart rhythm to become unstable. But oranges don't just impact meds. They also contain high levels of natural sugar, nearly 20 grams per fruit. And when juiced, that sugar becomes even more concentrated, hitting your bloodstream fast and hard, especially on an empty stomach. In older adults, that kind of sugar spike, followed by a crash, can cause dizziness, slurred speech, weakness, and in vulnerable cases, a stroke. So, what should you do? Enjoy oranges occasionally, not daily. Eat them later in the day, never first thing on an empty stomach. Skip orange juice, choose whole fruit, and only half at a time. If you're on statins, blood pressure meds, or heart rhythm stabilizers, ask your doctor if citrus is safe. Consider switching to lemon or lime for vitamin C without the medication risks. Ronald recovered, but he now uses lemon in his water and saves oranges for rare occasions. And remember, it's not about giving up fruit. It's about understanding how it works with your age, your medications, and your body's needs today, not 20 years ago. Coming up next, one of the most tropical fruits of all, sweet, golden, and beloved in smoothies, may be silently blocking your liver from doing its job. Let's talk about mango.
Mangoes feel like sunshine. Bright, golden, juicy, and soft. They taste like dessert, but with the label of fruit, which makes them feel guilt-free. But for older adults, especially those taking prescription medications, Mangoes may be more than just sweet. They may be silently interfering with your liver's ability to protect you. Let me tell you about Miguel, age 72, from Southern California. He was newly retired, traveling more, feeling good. Every afternoon, he'd make himself a mango smoothie, blended with yogurt, oats, and a little honey. Miguel was on cholesterol meds and a mild anti-anxiety prescription, nothing extreme. But after a few weeks, he started feeling heavy, foggy, a little bloated. His sleep changed. He felt off. His doctor ran some routine labs and found something strange. His liver enzymes were elevated. His medications were lingering longer in his system than they should have. The mango smoothie seemed innocent, but it wasn't. Here's why. Mangoes contain a natural compound called mangiferin, which may affect enzymes involved in drug metabolism, particularly in older adults whose detox pathways have already slowed down. Worse, mangoes also inhibit cytochrome P450 enzymes, including CYP3A4, the same liver system that breaks down over 60% of prescription medications. When this enzyme is blocked, your meds can accumulate in your body. Side effects may worsen, liver strain increases over time, and your cognitive sharpness and energy may slowly decline. Add to that, mangoes are very high in fructose, a sugar that doesn't spike glucose immediately, but puts direct stress on your liver. Too much fructose leads to fatty liver buildup, increased triglycerides, and eventually higher risk for stroke and memory loss. One large mango contains 45 grams of sugar, more than a can of soda. When blended into a smoothie and taken quickly, it's a metabolic overload, especially in older adults with already slowed digestion and lower insulin sensitivity. So what can you do? Treat mango like a treat, not a health staple. Never blend mango into high-sugar smoothies. Eat it early in the day, not before bed. Ask your doctor about CYP3A4 sensitive drugs if you take statins, sedatives, or heart meds. And if you eat mango, pair it with healthy fat or protein to slow absorption. Miguel didn't need to give up mango forever, but he cut back to once a week and switched to berries for daily smoothies. Within 2 months, his liver labs normalized. The lesson? Sometimes natural isn't harmless, especially when your body, your liver, your brain, your blood vessels, isn't working like it did at 35. If that tropical surprise caught you off guard, just wait for our last quick warning about a fruit so small, most people pop it by the handful. It's time for quick warning number 2. Cherries and blood thinner overlap. They're small, sweet, tart, and easy to love. But if you're over 60 and taking blood thinners like warfarin, Plavix, or even daily aspirin, cherries may be quietly increasing your risk of internal bleeding. Here's why. Cherries are high in salicylates, natural compounds with mild blood-thinning effects. Normally not a problem, but when combined with anticoagulant medications, salicylates may amplify bleeding risk, especially in the brain or gut. Symptoms might include frequent bruising, prolonged bleeding after minor cuts, blood in stool or urine, lightheadedness or dizziness without explanation. And because cherries taste so light and refreshing, they're easy to overeat, especially when in season. So what's the safe move? Limit to a small handful. Always eat with food. Check with your doctor if you're on any prescription blood thinners. Even the healthiest foods can become risky when your blood is already thinned by medication. Next, let's bring it all home. Time for the final reflection. After hearing all of this, you might be wondering, what's even safe to eat anymore? Is everything dangerous now? have I been doing it all wrong? The short answer, no. You've been doing your best, just like millions of others who care deeply about their health. But the truth is, aging changes everything. And the things that worked for your body at 35 or 45, they don't always work the same at 65, 70, or 80. Not because you're doing anything wrong, but because your brain, blood vessels, liver, and kidneys all process food differently now. Take a deep breath. This isn't about fear. It's about awareness. Because now you know better. You're more informed than most people your age will ever be. And that knowledge is powerful. You now know some fruits are sugar bombs in disguise, like grapes and mango. Others can interfere with medications you rely on daily, like orange or pineapple. And even small, innocent habits, like snacking on bananas or cherries, may tip the balance if you're not paying attention. But here's the good news. Just as food can hurt, it can also heal. It's all about pairing, portion, and timing. So let's end with the fruits you can trust. Blueberries. Blueberries, raspberries, blackberries. Low in sugar, high in antioxidants, brain safe. Green apples. Lower sugar, pair with nut butter or cheese for stable energy. Avocados. Yes, they are a fruit. Healthy fats, good for memory and circulation. Lemons. Add flavor, aid digestion. No sugar spikes. Pears. Gentle on digestion. Pair well with protein. Water. Not a fruit, but essential to help your body process everything. A few final tips. Always pair fruit with a healthy fat or protein. Eat fruit earlier in the day, not before bed. Avoid fruit on an empty stomach. And talk to your doctor about how fruit may interact with your medications. Your goal isn't to eat perfectly. Your goal is to stay sharp, balanced, and independent as long as possible. And that starts with awareness. So let me ask you, what's one thing you'll do differently after watching this video? Was it the grapes, the pineapple, the mango smoothies? Type it in the comments. Better yet, share this video with one friend or family member who still thinks fruit is always safe. Because the more we know, the more we can help each other stay strong, stay clear, and stay ourselves. You're not just eating to live. You're eating to stay you.
What I'm sharing with you today comes from my experience and the latest research. But always remember, this isn't personal medical advice. Talk to your doctor before making any changes to your health routine.